But now on Radio 4, we look at the world of the commuter.
And now on Radio 4, we look at the world of the commuter.
Why?
Because it's a fascinating one and tells us a great deal about work, the way we see the environment, and our whole notion of ourselves.
I'm driving home with a lorry up my boot. What is so fascinating about that?
Firstly, the fact that we in Britain see the act of commuting as somehow degrading, and yet we invented the word.
It's very significant that there is no word for commute and commuter in most other languages. And I think this is because the concept and the culture, the notion of the commuter and commuting is really not just an English, but an English-speaking idea. So that in other languages, you have to describe what people do when they travel to work.
Who is this guy, anyway?
Tony Thorne of King's College, London.
And in French, you can say faire la navette, which means to shuttle, or faire un trajet régulier, or une migration quotidienne, a daily migration. German has a word, which is Pendler, which also really means shuttler. The only language which really has exactly the same concept is Japanese, and the word they use is kommuta. And so commuter service in Japanese is kommuta sabisu. And although they have a native Japanese word, sukinsha, they decided to use the English word because I think they realized that the whole concept is somehow Anglo-Saxon. And, of course, the word itself originated in the United States on suburban metropolitan railroads.
Yeah, but does he commute? I bet he doesn't. I bet he works from home, that well-known euphemism for having a bath and phoning your friends.
Tony commutes from Teddington to London most of the time, when he's not shuttling between there and Strasbourg, where his wife works as a diplomat. Here's Claire Bellivier, a European commuter who changes languages with her daily journey.
I commute every day from my home in Liège, in Belgium, across the border into Maastricht in Holland, where I teach music.
Aha, Liège. Need I say more? So is the angle that commuting is one more thing that we do worse than anyone else in the world? If it is, I resent the implication. Commuting's a perfect expression of English reticence, isn't it? People crush together on the tube, accepting it without display. You're looking at the heart of what England is. Calmness, refusal to lose the rag, blow the top. What are you lot getting so steamed up about? Yeah, you too, and your mother. I stopped and forgot about the bloody lights. So what? So I got absorbed in some stupid radio programme. Sorry.
We live at the point that we call les trois frontières, you know, where not only Belgium and Holland meet, but also the German Rhineland. I can give you another example. For instance, my brother also commutes to work across a frontier. He walks through the forest, literally, from Belgium and arrives in the German village on the other side. So we are living in three cultures, you know, three languages and three ways of thoughts, but that seems totally natural and normal to us. Well, I suppose we are what you could call frontier commuters.
Ah, I see the drift of this, more softening us up for Europe. Britain has the worst beaches, the worst foot and mouth. Well, okay, but...
The horror that commuting is in Britain. One of my most vivid memories of my time when I lived in London was, you know, these long lines of resigned British commuters' faces. They spend hours waiting for delayed tubes or trains or buses, and they even believe excuses about leaves on the train lines. I think if this happened in any other country in Europe, we'd simply not accept it. I don't know, we'd scream, we'd riot, take the streets, go on strike. I don't know what we'd do, but we'd do something. You know, by the end of my time in London, I almost wondered if the British enjoyed actually suffering. Or maybe that's what they are used to. That's what commuting is for them, a long train of suffering. So,
didn't I say? Suffering indeed.
What the British dislike most of all, you see, is being away from home.
Excuse me, sir.
How can I help you, officer?
This street is coned off.
Why?
As we are. There is a very good reason for this. We live in an appallingly overcrowded island. Here in Great Britain, journeys on road, by car and van increased from 58 billion passenger kilometres in 1952 to 621 billion passenger kilometres in 1999. During the same period, bus and coach journeys went from 92 billion passenger kilometres to only 45, and rail journeys increased a paltry 8 billion passenger kilometres from 38 to 46. The British are obsessed with their own God-given right to lead their own uniquely owned homes, step into their own uniquely owned car, and drive their own unique selves. Most of these car journeys, remember, only carry one, usually male passenger, from office to home as castle.
What about the women running their kids to school? In my view,
Thank you so much for your view, officer.
a man has to go to the office.
A man has to go to the office. I can just hear them say it, can't you? To drink coffee and flirt with secretaries and worry about whether his desk and his equipment generally is large enough.
I'm not sure I like this lady's
You
tone.
all know the most effective way to go to work is to sit down and, well, work. Isn't that why we have email and computers and phones and video links? Wasn't it Pascal who said that man's unhappiness comes from not being able to sit down in a room by himself?
Speak for yourself. Now, if you wouldn't mind reversing, sir.
Everyone has a view about commuting. Policeman, Radio 4.
The idea of a sort of culture, an ethos, an experience of commuting is something which is socially important. I think is uniquely British, American, Canadian, perhaps. It's not even the same in the English-speaking countries. And the way a linguist can identify this is to take a computerized word scan and see what words appear in the language next to the word commuter. And if you look in the United States, it's things like commuter network, commuter service, commuter shuttle, things like that. In Britain, it's commuter hell, commuter chaos, commuter agony. And so we have in Britain this uniquely negative experience of commuting. So I think it's something that's very deeply resonant and redolent of English suburban and urban life. And it says something still. I mean, I know it's a cliche, but it's about our innate masochism. It's about some awful Puritan masochism.
Shortcut, over the road, bit of a rat run we can do here. There we are, nice little head of speed here, and there, right, and cut down here, and oh, there's that lorry again. Funny.
Dr. Michael McCabe is probably Britain's most adventurous commuter.
More like it. Positive, positive.
I get up at about 5:15 in the morning and I'm down for the ferry at about 5 to 6. Usually the Whitelink staff at the ferry let me on first. I think they've come to know me as a regular. And
This is a man. This is a real commuter. This is vintage English
Right.
stuff.
But sometimes if it's a nice morning, I'll watch the sunrise going over to Yarmouth. At Yarmouth, it's back on the bike again. And actually what I do a lot of the time is I'm watching the distance on my instruments on the bike, keeping a tab on the time, because it's actually quite a tight schedule. And so if I am a few minutes out, I miss the ferry and have to wait half an hour for another one. So by then, I normally know whether I have to go a bit faster or slower. I get to Fishbourne, and at Fishbourne I normally have my breakfast, and I actually sit outside. If it's a summer's day, I'm looking out watching the ferry come in.
Actually, this man's mad. Commuting for 5 hours a day. You could do a lot of things in 5 hours. You could climb a mountain or something.
Sometimes I have another cup of tea on the
I mean,
ferry.
come on, please.
Shoreline of Portsmouth, as you travel into the ferry port at Portsmouth, and then there's just that last little bit into the university itself.
Dr. McCabe, a lecturer in maths, astronomy and computing, is a lesson to us all that commuting need not be a misery.
Ah, the opposite view now. Typical broadcaster's trick. One view, opposing view, result, total blandness. I mean, make up your minds about commuting. Either it's fun or it isn't. Either it's hell on wheels or it's...
Another commuter who's taken a positive attitude to this misery line business is Chris Clifton, who has actually chartered a plane from Exeter to Luton to Manchester every day, giving his Link Air commuters a full working day and getting them home in time for the washing up.
Except when there's fog, I suppose. Thunderstorms. Or a crash.
I used to commute to London using Great Western trains, and even before the Hatfield crash, we found the time was just too long as far as I was concerned, and standing on a platform at 4 o'clock in the morning was no longer attractive. So myself and several of the people who were actually commuting regularly, who I saw the same faces every day, were talking about flying. And subsequent to that, I've managed to arrange to fly a 9-seater aircraft up on a daily basis. And as we're now proving with the likes of my colleague here, Nick, that people travel and find it works.
The plane is certainly cosy. It's a 9-seater twin-engine turboprop, and you feel as if you're sitting in the cabin with the pilot, because indeed you are. It's just an elongated cabin. And they go through the CAA safety routine, and I like the bit where it says, and the life jackets are in the seat in front of you, and you won't need them on this flight, but if we are flying over water, would one of you lean forwards and wake me? So, yes, it's intimate, it's cosy, it's quite pleasant.
I just don't buy this. The happy, clappy British all clubbing together to make trouble-free togetherness trips. Well, actually what they were saying at the beginning is right. Travel in this country, especially daily travel, i.e. commuting, is sheer unadulterated misery. It's ludicrous to suggest... Oh, the lights are changing. For God's sake, there's no need to get excited. I just pulled ahead of you. Learn to live with it, wimp. Why do you people think that...
Commuting need not be a competitive rat race in which we all strive to be one step ahead, but part of a world in which collaboration is the main point of the exercise. The important thing we need to do is to socialize travel, to make it a communal activity, whether it's by introducing carpools on the American model or somehow creating a community in the hiatus of commuter traffic. There is, believe it or not, a commuters club on the Victoria to Hove 6:31 train from platform 12.
A commuters club? Who needs it when you're driving fast along the open road?
And friends, celebrating the retirement of Jane Appleton.
Jane and her retirement.
To Jane.
Here.
Boop boop. My favourite character is Mr. Toad, lying on his back and dreaming of speed. When you're driving fast, you don't need commuters clubs any more than you need leaves on the line.
It's quite a small gathering tonight because in the past, when we had a buffet car, we used to have a Christmas party every year for at least 10, 15 years from memory. And we used to decorate one of the buffet compartments with streamers and bunting and things. And everybody chipped in, and we had boxes of wine on every table and crisps and nuts and nibbles and things. And occasionally bottles of champagne with some music, and that was our annual event, which was the Commuters Christmas Party. Now, since the buffet's gone, we're all dispersed in different parts of the train, and we miss our morning coffee and bacon sandwich, and in the evening having a drink with colleagues and friends to unwind after work. So things have changed quite dramatically.
No, commuting's just like anything else. When it's going well, when you're winning, you really don't want artificial togetherness. You just enjoy getting out there, middle of the road in your high-performance car and absolutely stepping on it, trying to disregard the petty restrictions they lay on us, like speed cameras. Ha! Saw you, slow down, and accelerate. Ha 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 ha! There's nothing like the open road.
The Commuters was written and presented by Nigel Williams. The producer was Rebecca Stratford.